what are some other aspects of the discovery violations? I was saying, I mean, other than I know there's been a lot of filings about this, but is there some kind of centralized database of like, could we just have a handy list of discovery violations you guys have complained about over the years? Because I know there's been a lot of complaints, but off the top of my head, I couldn't point to one single instant. Just that there's been a lot.
So, well, we all have our different complaints. Obviously Brian got into that big argument, which Brian ended up being completely right, that Adrian Bean was in fact at the hospital. And where's the reports from that? My thing was, and I know people have been saying this, Max loves police reports, Max loves videos, Max loves transcripts. I do. Those things exist for a reason. And with Dennis, Investigator Dennis and Investigator Gaither, I can remember this in particular. I was asking, where's the reports? Where's the reports? Where's the reports? And they say I wrote one, because at first I'm criticizing, saying, well, if it's so important, why didn't you write a report? Oh, I wrote one. Then I say, well, where is it? Well, the state should have it, and then the state doesn't have it, and then we all just chalk it up. Right. Oh, well, there was the hack of 2018 or whatever, and everyone just says, oh, it's due to the hack. And it's like, well, how do we know it's due to the hack? Like, I don't think it's due to the hack. Like, what proof do we have that it's due to the hack? And why would there not be a paper written report about this if it's so important? So that's been my frustration. It's like, you complain that you don't have a report, and then it's like, well, if they have a report, I'm sure they'll give it to you. And you're kind of left saying, well, they haven't given it to me, and the officer's saying there's a report. So we have a problem here. So there's been several instances like that have stood out to me. And I'm not, and to be clear, I get the fact that Investigator Dennis moved to a different jurisdiction, Investigator Gaither retired. I'm not putting it on them. I don't expect an investigator to just hold on to old reports for 10 years, but it has to be somewhere, because, you're going to bring this case from 2013 events, 2014, 2015. There has to be some sort of safeguard to make sure you have reports.
I'm reminded of this line of questioning, because especially with Detective Gaither, I mean, this is an important line of questioning, but I'm struck by the fact that what I really remember about this isn't this when there was the exchange where the detective got on you and said that you were being condescending to her, and then the judge kind of got into you about it. And it just kind of, to me, highlights that there's such a focus on that. There's not so much a focus on, these discovery violations, that kind of thing. It's just like this, and the judge would kind of participate in it, like these personality clashes, and he would kind of exasperate it and fan the flames on it. Am I conflating those two incidents? Or?
No, I don't think so. And the thing is, I'm a lot of things. I don't think I'm condescending. I mean, you could say a lot of things about me. I don't tend to be that. And I wasn't being condescending to that investigator. I think it was Investigator Gaither. What was going on is I thought I was asking questions, and the state kept objecting, saying things were vague.
Right.
And I didn't believe my questions were vague. And my frustration wasn't directed at all to the investigator. So I don't know how the conclusion was made that I was being condescending to Investigator Gaither. I think Investigator Gaither's plenty smart. I think, I don't have any bad things to say about Investigator Gaither, other than the fact that I was trying to find the reports and no one could find the reports. But again, I don't put that on her.
Yeah, I mean, it just seemed like there was such a focus from the judge and from her on the form instead of the substance, when actually, if you kind of get into the substance of what you were talking about, it's pretty crucial stuff here. But
right. That's what I felt.
It seemed like, we hear from you. You're probably the most, you and Brian Steele and then Keith Adams are the most active of the attorneys. And can you, without revealing work product or too much planning, can you talk about how you approach exams? I mean, how do you look at a witness list and decide who you're really gonna go into, and then who is going to be kind of the work of another defense attorney? Obviously, it just depends on your client's role, but is that something you talk about with the other attorneys?
Well, in this, I mean, so far in the trial, there's if the trial continues, there'll be parts of the trial that do not directly or even indirectly involve my client Shannon, other than he's charged with RICO. But so far in the trial, most of the witnesses have involved Shannon to a large degree. And the reality is, Shannon, I'll say it today, I'll say it tomorrow. He is innocent of the charges in this indictment. But the reality is, if you read the indictment, Shannon has more charges than anyone. Okay. Yeah. Shannon's charged with 2 independent murders on this indictment. So I'm going to be active. That's what I have to do to represent my client. Couple that with my hyperactive tendencies and my inability to sit still, and you end up with me being involved a lot. And also, a lot of it is the background. You need to kind of set the tone that, this isn't going to be easy. So some of the things that came out in the beginning of the trial, even if it didn't directly involve Mr. Stillwell, I'm going to challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to challenge on principle. And, at some point you in the beginning, I was like, should I make it clear to the jury, even though that I'm putting up a stink with this witness, should I make it clear to the jury that this incident, even the allegations, don't involve my client? And I said, well, how would that look? Because then it looks like I'm trying to suggest that other people were involved. So I don't do that. I just trust that the jury is going to realize sometimes I'm dealing with a witness and I got questions for that witness, even though the witness doesn't have anything directly to do with Shannon.